From Lalate headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons Lalate.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons Lalate, direct from Santa Monica, California, with your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. Incredible great news as a $3.5 trillion recon passed over a week ago, and now we've learned that everything in there is staying in there. In fact, no program is getting removed, no check is getting removed, and the amount of all the checks are staying in there. Meantime, the Democratic coalition, no less than 12 House senators and Democratic House members say they're adding in that monthly IRS stimulus check. The breaking news at Afternoons is that no less than a handful of top progressives say that everything that's in the recon is staying in the recon, that the price tag of the checks in the recon are staying the same, and that all these delicious checks, hazard pay, seniors, workers, cars, drugs, home repairs, money of $51,000 of MSCs are staying in there. Nothing is getting removed. Wow. So what's getting modified or anything at all? Meantime, breaking news as Kyrsten Sinema is under pressure. The Democratic leadership of Arizona, her home state, now vowing to remove their support for her and say, you know what? You can fend for yourself because we may not support you in your next re-election bid. Boy, this is a bombshell at Afternoons. Meantime, the surprising detail as a new report says that Chuck Schumer is the number one guy to get this over the finish line and is gonna do it. Elsewhere, this channel continues to be the face, reportedly, to help get that recon over the finish line. That $3.5 trillion recon, because your advocacy is working. Your advocacy is being noted, and your advocacy is being talked about. Once again, you and this channel are making history. And we're making history starting right now at Afternoons Lalate. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are. It is gorgeous along the coast here in Santa Monica, California. Pray for all the wildlife that has been horribly impacted by that oil leak. Let's cut to the big breaking details. As that fourth stimulus check of 2021 update today continues to be incredibly great news. The president's having secret meetings today. Well, not that secret because I know about them. With at least 12 House Democrats whose seats are on the line. Oh, does that sound familiar? Seats for stimulus. I already sent out their names and they won insurances that they're getting this recon over the finish line. Meantime, Bernie, Liz, and Chuck yesterday all said, and this morning, that they are not changing anything in the recon. This came after assurances about the same from Sheila Jackson, she's the number 2, and Jalopal, the number 1 names in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. They're not removing anything from this recon. This means that all the incredible checks, cluster number 1, 2, and 3, are staying in there. And in fact, viewers were told yesterday by the same Democratic leaders they're inserting that monthly IRS stimulus check. I'll go over all those incredible details and then the new pressure against Kyrsten Sinema as the Democratic Party of Arizona says we will not support you. If you continue the path you're on, you can fend for yourself and we will support your opponent in the Democratic Party in the primary you're next going to face. Oh boy. It's a big noon. It's a big afternoon. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. We're making history again. This is the channel that got Americans a second stimulus check with my idea to insert it in the CR for stimulus. And guess what? You're making history once again. Subscribe and we'll learn over all the details later in this video. Also like the video and consider becoming a member. It was over a week ago in which a late Saturday night vote happened in the House Budget Subcommittee with its leader of drafting, Sheila Jackson. She's the number 2 progressive in the Democratic Party, passing your recon. It was a huge, exciting night for this channel and a huge and exciting Sunday thereafter for this channel. I detailed all the 3 clusters of checks in there, nearly about 3 dozen checks. And guess what? Broadcast media never recorded the event. Never even reported the event occurred. Print media didn't even know what happened, and YouTube channels don't even understand what happened. This is why you gotta stay here with this channel, because guess what? In the last 24 hours, continuing the message from Sunday, the progressive said everything in that recon is going over the finish line. We ain't taking anything out. So how would anyone know what's in there unless you watch this channel? And let's go over all the incredible details starting right now. Cluster 1, 2, 3 checks I'm going to go over, and then I'm going to go over those IRS stimulus checks. Cluster 1, number 1, passed, and it includes hazard pay, checks for seniors, children, $51,000 of MSEs, home repairs, grants for college students, and also bikes, trucks, and cars. No electric surfboards, unfortunately. Let's get to the details. First, they got hazard pay in there. Huge. They took an old tax code called the Earned Income Tax Credit and broadened the eligibility and increased the amount of money. This is big, and a big win for you and the viewers of this channel, and myself, as I recorded no less than 300 videos about hazard pay, the single biggest place of advocacy on the planet in 2020. Now they got it. Then up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person at home. This is huge per person for you. Then up to $4,000 a year to care for a young child. Then they got money for home repairs. Yes, if you live in a low-income household, the federal government will be giving you incentives, free money to repair that house. Then money for college students, grants to them, to the universities, and directly also to the Pell Grant made tax-free. How about MSCs? Yes, they got those monthly stimulus checks in there of $51,000 with the CTC. The child tax credit, they broadened the eligibility and increased the amount of money. How does this work? Well, they made it now eligible for non-biological parents, and this would be up to $300 every month, every year, up to 18 years per child, as that household remains a low-income household. That's $51,000 a child. Wow. And then they got money for bikes, electric cars, and also electric trucks. Nothing for the surfboard, unfortunately. And how does this work? It's all electric. It's all U.S. auto manufacturer. And first, 15% for the purchase price of a new electric bike. Then $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric car, personal use, a little bit more for business use, and then a little bit more for a truck. Wow. In a second, we're going to go over cluster number 2's checks in their past, cluster number 3's checks in their past. And the breaking news at afternoons is that they're all staying in there. They're not coming out. So you need to know what they are right now, because they're confusing. They're elaborate. There's a lot of them. You got to learn from me, and we'll learn together about what these checks are. And now they're stayed in there. Oh boy, passed and going over the finish line. But first, let's take a detour over the second stimulus. I want you not to be dependent upon any event. So I want you to get as much money as you can: rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, SNAP, food, home repairs, appliances. I'm going to go over all that later in this video. But additional $13 billion cash infusions going out to cities, counties, and states for rent. Treasury made the statement about a week ago. Treasury is happy to provide state and local governments with these additional support for people in time of rental assistance. I'm going to show you how they get these massive sums of money, how one viewer got $80,000, another viewer $100,000 under third stimulus. It's coming up in just a second. Stay the final 15 minutes of this video. But now let's turn to the second cluster of checks, and they got them in there, and they're huge. It starts with paid family leave, paid medical leave. Remember, nothing in forced stimulus is COVID-related. It applies to everyone in every state of all magnitude, single, married, across the board. Family leave, medical leave, how much does it pay? Under third stimulus, it was $1,700 a week if you made $70,000 or more per year. Split it in half. That would be $800 a week if you make $35,000 a year. Split it in half. A $15,000 annual salary, up to $400 a week. Wow. Paid family leave, you have to stay home because your wife is pregnant. Paid medical leave, you have to stay at home because your son broke his leg. Then they got no less than a dozen other checks into the second cluster. They're incredible. Child care programs checks, household tax credit checks, then checks for weatherizing your home. Ever want to weatherize your home? You should, especially if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. Yeah, if those moderate Democrats, you know what? You want to keep them off of the roof, and you want to keep them out of the House, and certainly out of the Senate as well. There you go. Then they got free pre-kindergarten classes and free community college. Definitely needed. For everyone that says, I don't know what the world you're saying, Lalate. It's called Lalate 101. For people who think I just talk really funny, now you can be fluent. And if you take the advanced class, it's called Lalate 202. To be fluent in the foreign language called Los Angeles. There we go. In the third cluster checks, we're going to get to in a second, there's big money in there for seniors, workers, and also free internet. That's coming up in just a second. second. But what is Congress doing? The president today will be having a special meeting with approximately 12 House Democrats, a lot from Texas, by the way, that are really in battleground races for re-election in the next 12 months, some next month and some later next year. I sent out the name of those people to members and also subscribers on the channel earlier today. Seats for Similar sound familiar? It is. Meantime, the progressives, Bernie Sanders, Liz Warren, Jalopal, Sheila Jackson, AOC, all spoke about your recon. And guess what they said? Everything that was passed in that budget committee, detailed in this video right now, is staying in there. Nothing is getting removed. Everything is going to stay. The whole program is going to stay in there. And each of the programs will pay exactly that amount. Meantime, they're going to be adding in those IRS stimulus checks. The staffer, the congressional senators and House members' lead aides are telling viewers this channel. Wow. Let's cut to the third cluster checks, and we'll have more about what's going on with Congress in just a second. The third cluster checks are really incredible. First, they got free school meals for all checks. Then they got cheaper prescription medication checks. They got checks for farmers, checks for internet, checks for clean energy. Then they got checks for workers like independent contractors. Then they got checks for seniors like dental, vision, hearing checks, and lowering eligibility age for Medicare. Two of the checks in the third cluster I particularly love, so is the president. The reason why he likes them is it's instant savings to your wallet. Everyone has prescriptions. You always go to the pharmacist, and if you go to the pharmacist, this is where you're going to feel the difference. Let's say you go to the pharmacist today and say, "Hi, Mr. Pharmacist, I have a very bad headache." "Oh, really, Lalate? You've been listening to the moderate Democrats too often." "Yes, how'd you know?" "What's the solution for that? Do you have a solution for that, Mr. Pharmacist?" "Yes, seats for stimulus." Thank you for watching my channel. I need a prescription. I need a prescription. "Oh, okay. And here you go. It's two $20 bills you take out of your wallet to pay for the prescription." Then when those moderate Democrats come back after this becomes law and you refill the prescription, after this becomes law, you may only have to take one $20 bill out of your wallet. An instant savings of $20 in your wallet. Cheaper prescription medication. Wow. Then they're going to have free internet. Every city, state, red, blue, across the country will be given big sums of money from the federal government so that they can offer free internet to you. This is huge. And the incredible details of this is that all you have to say is, "What's the username and password?" What's the username and password? The username is DC Reese. And what's the password? Cinema, so what? So there you go. Later in this video, we'll be going over the big exciting details of more about how they're doing this recon, why everything that passed is going over the finish line, says the progressives. And we'll be going over what's going on with the president today. The news cycle's changing by the minute and the hour. But now let's get to those monthly IRS stimulus checks. Well, the great news is that this week, on top of last week, on top of the 8 weeks before that, more viewers were reconfirmed that IRS stimulus check is going in there after they advocated to those legislators. Advocacy is the key of this channel, saying why you need it, I need it, my family needs it, I gotta tell you why. And every person who has picked up the phone and advocated for this channel, advocating for themselves and their family, have been told the same thing. Over the last 8 weeks, no less than 1,000 viewers of this channel have been told by Bernie, Liz, Chuck, Coons, Casey, and then over on the House side, AOC, Omar, Jalopal, that stimulus check IRS monthly is going in there. The last place we were at with numbers was approximately $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000 running 6 months. Eligibility is the same as the third stimulus check, $75,000 or less. You get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less. You get it. People on SSI and SSDI, you get it. Every state, you would get it if you're in that zone of eligibility, up to a household of 4. Well, what happened this week? More senators reconfirmed that statement to viewers in their private messages. If you've called and advocated and you have a very nice story to tell me, send me a private message. Last week, Bernie Sanders' office 3 times to 3 different viewers confirmed the inclusion again. Same thing with AOC Omar, and also Chuck Schumer's office confirmed to Donnie's wife right before that infrastructure vote on Thursday that monthly IRS stimulus check is going in there. Remember, the recon is a work in progress, and while Nancy Pelosi made emphatically clear that things can be added, they will be added, those Democrats say. When that recon passed during that Saturday night, Pelosi and the president immediately said, it's not a bill. It's sort of like an envelope, is how I describe it. It's sort of like an envelope that says bill. And if you want to add stuff in the bill, you can. And in the envelope, you can. And that's what Pelosi said that night. And that's what the President Pelosi said all last week. And that's what those Democratic leaders are saying to you as well. It's incredible great news. And now your advocacy is really becoming part of the equation. What's going on? I have all those incredible details and more as we go into the second half of Afternoons LA. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. If you need help with rent, utilities, food, or internet, reach out to the community page. They're here, and I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Late Daily for the excitement of the new LA Late live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA Late at 9 a.m. Home LA Late returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA Late at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues right now from Afternoons LA as big exciting details unfold with that inclusion of those monthly IRS stimulus checks. We'll go over what Congress said in those late meetings and what they're doing today, what the president is doing right now, and what senators and House members are saying about your recon, and also that $3.5 trillion price tag and provisions. The great news is that everything that's in there is staying in there. We're going to go over what those leaders have said and why it's important to push. We'll be going over the breaking news as now the third stimulus gets additional cash infusion, and then we'll be cutting back to what Congress is doing and what Congress will be doing on the recon this week. It's getting very exciting as the voting is looming. Meantime, we'll be turning back to why this channel is now part of the equation to get that recon over the finish line. Wow, it's a big afternoon and the excitement starts right now, and this is Allied. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000 to 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. Big shows coming up today, including Overnight's Crypto, Evenings LA, and the new hit show. We tried it out last night, I guess. Maybe it's coming back. It's called Evenings Countdown. It's our encore show for noontime. And boy, you loved it. It follows every night after Evenings LA. It goes right from Evenings LA into Evenings Countdown. And with that, let's go over all the exciting details that are unfolding right now with you becoming part of the equation for that recon. Well, here we go. Over the weekend, I delivered the world exclusive as one viewer of this channel had a very in-depth conversation with a top aide in Bernie Sanders' congressional office in D.C. And that aide to Sanders told the viewer that this channel is now part of the equation to help get the recon passed. Why? Because of what the videos of this channel have delivered and because of what your advocacy has delivered. Over the last few weeks, you have seen how I've been going over excruciating detail to inform you of what the recon was when passed in that House and what these checks are or programs are in this recon. And guess what? Over that time, the broadcast media has never even covered it, leaving the Americans really guessing what's in this recon. And that's why congressional leaders have really been praising this channel and praising you, because you have become informed about these items and they wish broadcast media was doing much the same. But it has been the advocacy that has been the key ingredient. The key ingredient has been you picking up the phone and saying, I need it, my family needs it, my community needs it. And now that top aide to Sanders' office confirms that Sanders' office and other offices are keeping track, logging your calls, your emails, your voicemails about your support for the recon, your advocacy, to show that to the other side, to any naysayer, to any moderate Democrat, to also the president, to say, we need this done because here are the messages. Everyone understands what Lalate is. It's a broadcast channel. It's the biggest platform on the internet covering the subject matter. And with viewers that are Republican and Democrat, with viewers that are in red states and blue states, we cover everyone. Everyone's fighting for the same items. I had a plea in the last 2 days saying, if you're specifically in Arizona or West Virginia, please speak up. When you do advocacy, this is what it looks like. You pick up the phone and say, I'm an ally viewer. I'm from the state of Texas, and I want to tell you why I need stimulus, because this is what's going on in my family, and we don't have enough to pay our bills, or I don't have enough because I have a medical condition, and I got to explain to you why I need this stimulus and why this would be a game changer. Those logging those messages is to show that the callers from LA are not only viewers, but they're Democrats, they're Republicans, they're red states, they're blue states, and they're even from the battleground states of Arizona, Kristen Sinema, and West Virginia, Joe Manchin. I had a beautifully nice comment from one viewer yesterday who said, I'm going to step up for Arizona. Thank you. I heard you. I'm in Arizona. I want the stimulus, and I have hundreds of followers on my platforms, on my social media platforms, also in Arizona. I'm going to tell everyone to step forward and say, I'm in Arizona. This is why things are working. It was over the weekend that Ben Tolchin, who's a very top pollster for progressives and Democrats, came out and said Obama would have done this differently. He would have gone back to the home state of Kristen Sinema, for example, in Arizona, and say, Arizona residents, do you want this recon? You do? Well, then tell Kristen Sinema she wants it as well. That's what I'm doing as well on this channel. I'm saying, are you in these states and you want it? Well, make your voice be heard. And I'm here to help you make your voice be heard. Meantime, a new report that came out today said that it's working. A new report today says that the Democratic leadership of Arizona is vowing to no longer back Kristen Sinema in any re-election bid in her Democratic primary because of her position on the recon and the filibuster, saying if you continue down this path, we will support the primary challenger to you on the Democratic side. Now, let me explain something very important, which I've never explained before on this channel, is that Kristen Sinema's win in Arizona as a Democrat was a big win in nearly 40 years. It's very hard for a Democrat to win a senatorial race in Arizona. It just is. Now, in the case of Joe Manchin, that is a very strong Republican placehold. So it's not the same scenario as Arizona. For example, in the last election, Joe Biden lost by 40 percentage points to President Trump in West Virginia. So it's very, very strong Republican placehold. But in the case of Sinema, she's certainly feeling the pressure, and that pressure is working. Let's go over those IRS stimulus checks. And the great news is that this week, since yesterday, this week, last week, which was the week after the recon passed, and the week before the recon passed, the messages were all the same from the Democratic senators and House members. So far, Sanders, Casey, Coons, Warren, Schumer, and then on the House side, AOC, Omar, Jalopal, and Pelosi have told viewers of this channel they're putting in that IRS monthly stimulus check provision, that the provision is looking like it may be $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for 6 months. The great news is that since the passage of that recon, which is staying the same, you're going to learn that in just a second, they are still saying they're adding it in there. This is big. And the stimulus checks are considered like a program, and that they are going in there. It was 8 weeks ago, so I said pick up the phone and call and advocate for stimulus check inclusion. And WR, a longtime viewer of the channel, did. He picked up the phone and called Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, Joe Biden's old confidant. And Coons' office said yes, put it in there. Thank you for your advocacy. And then 3 weeks ago, you saw this channel sort of change very quickly. I started covering a lot of big exclusives. I delivered the exclusive that the legislation would be righted, the recon would be written by House Democrats, not Senate Democrats. We now saw that was true. I told you that the progressives would be leading the writing. That is now also true. Sheila Jackson, who I'm going to detail later in this video, she's the #2 progressive under Jalopal. She was one of the lead authors of the recon. Number 3, I showed you that the House would vote first, and they are. And then finally, I told you Bernie is part of the important equation. Well, that week, Bernie said a pivotal quote. He said, unlike other prior Senate budget chairmen, I like to get out amongst the people when doing a recon. And why is that important? He's saying he wants to hear from you. He wants you to advocate to him. And I said, pick up the phone and advocate. And Brother Joshua did. Lynn, Glenn, Margaret did that 3 weeks ago. And during their advocacy for stimulus, Bernie Sanders staffer told all of them it's going in there, monthly stimulus check. Now, let's go over what advocacy looks like, because this is very important if you just found this channel. Advocacy involves a sentence with a period at the end. Advocacy involves telling your story. Everyone has a very unique story. And advocacy involves you explaining why you are unique and why you would be impacted by this money. Here's an example. I need stimulus for my family because, for my church because, my community because, I don't have enough money because this is what's going on. I have medical bills and I got to explain to you why I need it. That's the face of advocacy. One viewer in her comments, another Margaret, said, I called up and I advocated so vigorously with the senator, she and I broke down in tears. Another one said, I lost my husband during the pandemic. I had 10 surgeries, and I'm raising two teenage daughters on just SSI and SSDI. It's not enough. I need this money. That's advocacy. Notice every sentence ends with a period. This, however, is not advocacy. Things that end with a question mark. Hi, my name is Joanne. Am I getting a stimulus check? Hi, is the check coming out? Is it $1,000? Is it $1,400? No, that's not advocacy. That's just treating people like a question booth. That's not advocacy, and no one responds to that. And that only just prompts a no answer because you're not advocating for anything. Well, Brother Joshua and Lynn Glenn and Margaret did. Brother Joshua's 2020 volunteers on the community page. He got fortunes for viewers during the thick of the pandemic. He's a beloved soul of this channel, and he picked up the phone and advocated for himself, for his family, his church, and you. And Sanders' office said yes. $1,000 to $1,300, 3 to 6 months is what Sanders wants to do. His staff are telling Brother Joshua, but the staffer added with, however, Sanders' office needs to hear from you. He needs to know that you have his back on this inclusion. Now, unbeknownst to us at the time, it was not so much that Sanders wants to hear from you, but that Sanders wants to hear from you so he can show it to other people. And that's where the snowball started. We started to have viewers picking up the phone, and I said, pick up the phone and call and advocate to Sanders' office. And boy, did you do it. You met Donnie's wife early in this video. Let's go over to Donnie and what Donnie himself did when hearing my message to pick up the phone and call. This is what Donnie wrote in one of the comments or in the private messages of social media. I called Bernie's office and I spoke to the secretary. I said, I needed my water needed. I need it for my city. We all need it. And they said, yes, we're doing a forced stimulus check. Hurricane Tina picked up the phone and advocated for herself, and she said yes. And Sanders' office said yes, they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. Carolyn said, we need it. We're losing our homes. We're losing what we got. And Bernie's office said, yes, we're getting it. And then Yaya picked up the phone and called Ronald Wyden advocating, and Wyden's office said, yes, it's going in there, including SS200. It's important to understand that I understand this is social media and it's also a public forum. I don't want people posting what their advocacy sentence was. I don't want you posting anything about financial information or medical conditions on the internet. And so I like the way Will wrote it, which is, he says, I explained my situation. That's all you got to say when you're posting something on a public forum. Do not post on a public forum your financial circumstance or your medical circumstance. You tell that to them when you advocate. And as Will says, I explained my situation. And I called Bernie, Chuck, and Liz Warren, and all three offices confirmed there's a stimulus check going in there. Liz Warren's office, in fact, confirming it's $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. There you go. By that point, the messages were very loud and clear. We had gotten no less than 1,000 viewers of this channel getting the same confirmation of the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check from senators. Here are the senators by that point that had said, yes, it's going in there. Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden. Going into the vote on the recon, I said, okay, now let's lean over on the House side. and lean on those. Jalapal, AOC, Omar, and Pelosi, I said, pick up the phone and call. And boy, did you call. Mark called Pelosi right before the vote. And Pelosi said, yes, they're nearly done negotiating the amount, writes Paul. Excuse me, Mark. Now, here's Mark's comment in the live on the channel. He says, I spoke to Pelosi's office, the staff, and they said there would be fourth stimulus check, about $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and they're almost done negotiating it. The messages kept on coming in from viewer after viewer. Janice picked up the phone and called Omar. She called Jalapal also. This is what she wrote about Jalapal. She got the same message from Omar, that they're putting the fourth stimulus check in there. The messages continue to come on in, and the messages were the following. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, 6 months. Well, then the passage of the recon happened on that House floor. After the passage of the recon, Pelosi said that late that night, this is not a bill. If you want to add stuff in there, you can add stuff in there. And that's right after she had told Mark that, guess what? I'm adding the provision in there. That's after Bernie, Chuck, Liz, all these people said they're adding it in there. What happened in the days after the vote, which would have been last week? Last week, Chuck Schumer's office, of course, telling Donnie's wife, it's going in there. AOC, Omar, confirming the same, their staffers, and Bernie Sanders staff 3 times last week. This week, we had more viewers get the same confirmations in just the last 24 hours. Advocacy works, and advocacy happens here. Now, it's important to understand that if you are advocating, start in your mindset and thinking, what am I going to say? Why is my situation unique? And when you're ready to say it, then make the call. LA viewer, what state you're from, and maybe it's a Republican state, maybe it's a Democratic state, whatever it is, and then explain your advocacy and your situation. More about that later. Now let's go over what's happening with that recon. This is huge. And let me give you the summary first, and then we'll go over the details. The summary is that the recon passed a week ago on that Saturday night. Everything in there is staying. Everything in there is staying. The Democrats today, yesterday, Saturday, and Sunday repeated the same message, the progressives, that everything in the recon is staying in there. That's why these videos are so important for you. So you need to know what is in that recon. You need to know how ready to be pounced to get that money at the recon. You need to know how to advocate for those items in the recon, because everything is staying in there. The recon is described by the progressives the following way: as a package that has a lot of programs, and that each program will stay in there with the same payment as it currently is. But how do they make modifications to make concessions to the moderate Democrats? I'll explain that in 1 second. First, let's go over the voting process, and what's important to understand is that the president has made emphatically clear now that there will be no vote on the roads and bridges until the moderate Democrats agree upon the recon. The president made that emphatically clear by stopping the vote on the roads and bridges on Thursday, stopping the vote on the roads and bridges on Friday, and then having a meeting on Friday afternoon with the Senate and House Democrats separately and telling them there will be no vote on the roads and bridges until you moderate Democrats sign off on the recon. Huge win. On Saturday, Nancy Pelosi had a very bizarre statement she released, which caused some confusion because it was badly phrased. And it seemed to suggest that the roads and bridges were set for a vote. Not the case. The president walked it back the following morning on Sunday, actually himself on Saturday on the South Lawn, saying, no, there is no date. Don't misconstrue this statement. And then he had his cabinet member appear on broadcast media on Sunday saying, there is no date on the roads and bridges. We're doing the recon first. Oh, thank goodness. That comment came from Cedric Richmond, which says we do not have a time frame on it. What the president's message has been the following is this, that the recon, the focus is where we are now. We're not focusing on the roads and bridges. We're focusing on the recon. Thank goodness. Number 2, we're keeping our promise about how we're doing the recon. What was that promise? We originally had one bill, a massive bill that had roads and bridges and recon in there. That was July. And then at the time, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin said, no, split it up. Moderate Democrats said split it up. As a concession, the president split it up. And then he said, okay, now we have two separate bodies of legislations. They must both progress at the same time. They must both be voted at the same time. And they must both land on my desk in the White House at the same time. The moderate Democrats didn't keep their promises, like the Goth Gang, like Gothenheimer, New Jersey Democrat in the House. He went to Pelosi and tried to get that vote for that roads and bridges last Thursday without the recon. And that's why everyone said, no, you're not keeping your promise. Liz Warren said, no, this was not what we agreed upon. No, Bernie Sanders is not what we agreed upon. Well, the president said the same thing. Thank goodness. President that said that's not what we agreed upon. We're doing both of them together, not one at a time. So what did Bernie, what did Liz say today and last night? They said today and last night that we're not changing the recon. We already passed it. Oh, this is why I love you as my viewer. Why? Because you've been explaining these details by me and you understand it. Remember I detailed that graphic for so many weeks. Recon procedural, recon substantive. I said there's two steps. Step one is to pass the recon with a price tag. And then you go back and you do how to pay for the items. First step is the price tag, $3.5 trillion. And I said that passed. That's exactly what Bernie Sanders and Liz Warren said yesterday. He said, no, we already have a deal. We already have a passed item. We're not going back and changing something that's a passed item. We already have a $3.5 trillion. That's where it is. It ain't changing. Wow. That's basically saying that the recon procedural, that is where it is, ain't going to be changed. Then the incredible thing is that the recon substantive is the only thing that is potentially going to get changed. So let's go over what AOC Jalapal said on Sunday and what Sheila Jackson said over the weekend. This is a big one. Jalapal and AOC both said that they're not removing any programs from the recon and that they're certainly not doing 1.5 trillion. So what are they doing? Sheila Jackson, who is the number 2 in the Democratic Progressive Party wing, and who was the person who wrote the roads and who wrote the recon that Saturday night. She was on the Saturday night. She was on the floor that Saturday night, passing it for you. She explained how they're going to be doing anything for the recon going forward, and how they're not going to be doing other things. She describes the recon as a big package that has a lot of programs in it. I call the programs checks. Sometimes she calls them also loaves of bread. She calls them loaves. You got, for example, a package for the $4,000 of care for the elderly. You got the 15% for the bike. You got a package for the free internet. Each of these packages, she says, are staying in there. Each of these programs are staying in there. Each of these loaves are staying in there. She said, we're not removing any of the loaves. We're not removing any of the programs. Moreover, we're not reducing the amount of the program. She said, we're not doing a half a loaf. Very, very clear imagery. What's an example? 15% for the electric bike, we're not making it 5% for the electric bike. $51,000 of MSCs, we're not making $5,000 of MSCs. That's not what we're doing. We're keeping the programs in there, and we're doing exactly the full amount of the money. So how do they make concessions? Where do they make the changes? They make the changes on the back end for how they pay for the money. That doesn't really concern you. They change how they tax the corporations. They change how they tax the wealthy individuals, the billionaires, the wealth tax. And that's how they change it. So they change the back end. But they're not removing any programs. And they're not removing, and they're not reducing how much the programs pay out to you. Huge. That's why 1, 2, 3 clusters of checks covered on this channel. When I say pass, and not getting changed. Let's repeat it a little bit more emphatically. First, the recon that passed in the month of, I think it was September. Yeah, I think the recon procedure that passed in the month of September, in the Senate and the House, $3.5 trillion passed. That's not getting changed. Bernie Sanders and Liz Warren said it today. That's not getting changed. Number 2, the recon substantive, which is the recon that passed that House Budget Committee 2 weeks ago. That's not getting changed either. Sheila Jackson, AOC, Jalapal all confirmed that all the programs in there, all the checks, these clusters of checks, which I detail, they're not coming out either. The way they make concessions with the moderate Democrats is the back end of it. Now, is another way that they could potentially make another change to it with not impacting you? Yes, I'll tell you that right now. They can change it from not running for 20 years, for example, to running for 10 years. A lot of these programs were supposed to run for several generations. And that's how Bernie Sanders made concessions. In fact, Bernie Sanders reference, it's sort of like we're on the same wavelength the last 24 hours, him and I. He talked about the same thing I've been talking about the last 2 days, which was in the month of July, Bernie Sanders went into negotiating for your recon, and he met with Democratic senators, including Kristen Sinema, to agree upon a price tag for the 3.5 trillion. He went in asking for 7 trillion. He made concessions to agree to 3.5 trillion. Those meetings happened with Liz Warren and Sinema and Joe Manchin all in the room, and they agreed. Then they called it for a vote in the Senate, and they passed it. That was recon substantive. Liz Warren and Chuck and Bernie Sanders spoke about it today. He said, we already passed this. We already made concessions. We already came from 7 trillion to 3.5 trillion. We're not changing that again. We already had a vote on this. We're not going to unvote our vote. I love it. That's exactly what I've been saying. So where do they make the changes on the back end? Let me explain what's going on. When you look at for example, the 15% for the electric bike's not coming out. And they're not changing the 15% for the electric bike to 2% for the electric bike. They're rather what they could potentially do is change the horizon of how many years it runs to making it less years. They potentially have already reduced some of the programs from running for 20 years to running for 10 years. But some of the programs they may not have as well. And so this gives them the opportunity to maybe run it for less years, but still giving you the same amount of money over the next decade. There you go. That's how we do it. Now let's turn to third stimulus. And the important thing I want to tell you about third stimulus, because I see sort of the comments on this channel, and sometimes I repeat things and then I don't repeat them for a few weeks. One of the messages I used to repeat a lot on this channel, financial independence. I talked about it a lot during the summer, but I haven't said that expression in a while. Financial independence. I want you to be financially independent in 2021. I've talked about that all the time, and viewers have learned from me, and that's how viewers have gotten $80, $90, $100,000 from this channel. This needs to be you. Financial independence, so you're not dependent upon the day in which Kristen Sinema says, yes, I'll do the recon. You're not dependent upon the day in which Kristen Sinema says, okay, fine, I have no problem with the $4,000 for the elderly for that check. I'll sign off of it. Yeah, I don't want you to be dependent upon those events. I want you to get big sums of money. The great news is that it's still not wintry. It's still not blistering cold across much of the country. And now the nonprofits are paying big sums of money for the viewers of this channel. I've done this before. I did this in fall of 2020 when we were waiting for second stimulus to come, and I stepped forward and I got people big sums of money. The difference is I know how this works better than ever before. So I want you to get a pen, paper, cell phone ready, because I'm going to show you a lot of information in just 5 minutes. It's going to be a lot of stuff. And if I go too fast, replay the video. All right, here you go. I'm going to show you how to get some money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, SNAP, clothing, food, home repairs, appliances, utilities. We're going to go over all that right now. You can get this money everywhere. So let's go over it right now. First, we're going to go over some money for rent, utilities, food, and mortgage assistance. Here's what you need to know. There is an additional cash infusion of $13 billion landed in cities, counties, and states for rent. I want you to get that money. And I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. Reach out to all 6. They have different pots of money, and they have different eligibility. So if one says no, reach out to the next 6. All right, here are the 6 places. Your city hall, your city house authority. Your county hall, your county house authority. Your state hall, and your state house authority. Reach out to all 6. Keywords you're going to say are rent assistance, because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Now, that is where you start. Then I want you to pull out that LA newsletter. If you're a member for this channel, I hope you are. The link's under the video, and read the read the statement out from Treasury that explains that $13 billion. I want you to know what it is before you call them up, because they are getting the money. Every red, blue, purple state across the country is getting the money. It won't be there forever, so I want you to pounce and get it. Next, utilities. I want you to reach out to as many utility companies you have. So if you have 5, reach out to 5. I had a great question yesterday. Someone said, can I apply at multiple places at the same time? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a lot of viewers who got rent from different places. You can get rent from different places, so don't think you can only get it from one place. All right, here are the nonprofits. The nonprofits have been really a big success story on this channel. And in fall of 2020, The nonprofits just got people a big sum of money. Now they're doing it again. Here are the 5 nonprofits. It's important to remember the nonprofits pay for everything that's in third stimulus as well. They just do it with different eligibility. So if you're having an eligibility problem, reach out to the 5 nonprofits. They are United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. What's important to understand about the nonprofits is they also pay for items that are not in third stimulus, such as clothing, homeless people into shelter, mortgage assistance, money for food, and yes, appliances. 2 viewers getting refrigerators, furnaces, and their windows fixed. Lean on those nonprofits right now. They are United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. Then you SNAP. Get that money for SNAP. It's from Department of Agriculture. Reach out to them. It's money for food. And yes, everyone's SNAP benefits are going up an average of 25% lifetime, starting in October, every state, every place across the country. You were stepped down September. They're now going up a lifetime in October. Finally, the refund check from IRS and your state. This is the unemployment money. If you're overpaid unemployment due to computer error, it's coming from your state. Average payment is $2,000 to $5,000. And then the refund check from IRS. Average payment is $1,200 to $2,000. That's the 2020 tax return. You paid taxes on the unemployment benefits. If you got any sums of money, post them in the live chat because you inspire someone else. Finally, let's circle back to the importance of becoming a member. The link is under the video. Daily at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday, I deliver to you via the YouTube alert system and the Lalate alert system the membership newsletter. It has all the big money under first, second, and third stimulus. It includes the nonprofits. It includes the 6 places to reach out to. It includes the Treasury statement. I want you to learn from that and get as much money as you can. Here is why it's important. I want you to be financially independent. And that's how viewers, and I don't want to show the graphics right now because I'm running late on time, but viewers have gotten 80,000, 50,000, 100,000. Viewers have had their lives changed because of this channel day in, day out. You can do this as well. You can get this money. I don't want you to be sitting around financially dependent upon when Chris and Sinema moves on this or moves on that. I want you to get big sums of money that are available right now. And those monies are there. Finally, let's go into the last 5 minutes of this video with a big recap across the board. Passed your $3.5 trillion recon, passing a House subcommittee, budget committee. This is huge because now we have seen, since the passage about a week and a half ago, everything in there is staying in there. All the programs are staying in there. All the amount of how much the programs are staying in there are staying in there. Meantime, the Democratic leadership, Schumer, Casey, Coons, Kate Warren, Sanders, AOC, Omar, Jalapal, all say they're adding in that monthly stimulus check provision program in there as well. Nothing will get reduced. Nothing will get removed. It's all happening. Meantime, the incredible news is that the pressure is now working. The president having a meeting today with the Democrats that feel the pressure of concerns of re-election, seats for stimulus. Lastly, make 3 promises to yourself as you go into the new day. The new 3 promises are: 1, you'll pick up the phone and advocate. You'll say, why I need it. This is why I need it. Think about before you call what you want to say. Think about why your situation is unique, and then say, ally viewer, I'm from the state of Arizona. I want to tell you why I need it. And make the phone call to as many offices as you can. Sanders, Schumer, Casey, Coons, Warren, and also the House side, AOC, Sheila Jackson's office as well. Then, second, get as much money as you can from third stimulus. Once you get this money as far as you can into 2021, if you got money before, get more money. Get as many months as far into 2022 as possible. Finally, it's important to lean on the nonprofits because it's not that cold out there. They're having big, quick turnaround times. Viewers are reporting beautiful turnaround times from St. Vincent de Paul and United Way for rent. So get that money right now. I want you to be financially independent. I want you to get everything paid for as quickly as possible. Once you get it now, while it's warm, it's not particularly freezing cold outside. They're not getting the big calls for heating oil and things like that just yet. Get that big money. This is my focus, getting you money. Getting you money right now, not 5 weeks from now, and not 5 months from now. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, Afternoons Lalate, Evenings Lalate, and our new show, Overnight Evenings Countdown. It comes up right after Evenings Lalate. This video automatically takes you to the next one. And with that, I want you to subscribe and hit that subscribe button. Like this video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with Ally for more.